Russia has once again vetoed a condemnatory UN Security Council resolution against Syria over last week's suspected chemical attack in the Arab country, which the West blames on Damascus.
Those against? Abstentions? The result of the vote is as follows.
Well, this is the 8th time Moscow, a permanent member of the Security Council, vetoes an anti-Syria resolution at the world body. The draft also pushed the Syrian government to cooperate with investigators to probe the deadly incident. Without offering any evidence, the U.S. and its Western allies hold Syrian government forces responsible for the attack. Russia and Syria have both rejected the allegation. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons confirmed in 2014 that Syria had handed over the last batch of its chemical weapons. To discuss that further, we're now joined by Mr. Tony Gosling, who is an investigative journalist, and he's joining us live now via Skype from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, how do you feel about the Security Council vote?
Well, I can tell you how the US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson feels about it. He says that trust between Moscow and Washington has plunged to a low level amid these rising tensions, and I can tell you why that is. And that is because the US has conducted an illegal strike, illegal under international and US law, against an airfield where there were Russian personnel. And Russians, it was maybe some sort of miracle that no Russians were killed in that attack. So it is strange, isn't it, how the US seems to want to blame the Russians for this, even though it's them that's fired this missile strike. We've had today Russia saying quite clearly niet to allowing the US to arrange for their inspectors and a UN arranged inspectors to go, because they don't trust these inspectors. Although actually I think if it was a properly formulated UN group that was with the agreement of the Russians and with the agreement of the Syrian government, then they would probably be absolutely happy to allow a proper unbiased investigation into the to the attack near Idlib last week. So I actually think that there is a real blame game going on here, and we've got quite a serious problem, I think, with the United Nations. A lot of people have been pointing the finger saying it's not working. I'll tell you why it's not working, and that is because it's the big military might that calls the shots at the UN. There's two major parts of it. There's a General Assembly and there's a Security Council. And I think it would be rather brave of the UN to reform, to say, well, actually the military have got to do what the General Assembly does. In other words, to put the General Assembly at the apex. So in a big decision like this about whether to send these inspectors in as formulated should be made, but right across the world, and with a broad agreement and a vote across the world, rather than just by the permanent members. And of course, it's quite understandable that the Russians were going to veto this. The Chinese have abstained, and the French, UK, US, Egypt, Italy, Japan, Sweden, and interestingly Ukraine have all voted for this resolution. It's all, I think, been done in too much of a hurry, and there's been no proper negotiation with the Russians or with the Syrians about the makeup of this investigation team. No doubt there will be investigations of one sort or another, and we'll have to see how they pan out.
Okay, Mr. Gosling, we'll leave it there at that, but of course, as always, we appreciate you taking your time to speak to us here at Press TV.